Hello and welcome back to Clownfish TV. It is me, Geeky Sparkles. I am coming to you today by myself because weekends usually Neon and I have other things we're doing separately. So today is one of those days. We're going to talk about a question somebody asked me, and they sent me a question in regards to how Disney adults are behaving. Some Disney adults, not all, I want to clarify. And why people are acting like, catty tool bags online to each other. They're supposed to be Disney fans. They're correct. I see it all the time. It's not just you. This question came from Daphne. I'm just going to say that, not give any more context. They're talking about being a fan of the show, and they had a fun question about Disney adults. I'm emailing you with a silly question regarding Disney adults. Have you noticed something similar? I myself have to confess I'm a Disney adult. I used to work at Disney stores when I was younger, and my love for Disney has continued to grow. They have a job that's in and around Disney, which I've been there myself. It sounds like a really cool job, by the way, and I am kind of low-key jealous of that. Anyway, I'm not going to go into it because I don't want anybody to get, accidentally doxxed or something. So they're talking about how they found something interesting, even though they love their job. I also, having been doing Disney blogs for years, and I didn't get to go to the media, Neon did, long story, love doing what we do. It wasn't until recently that I became, when you get in and you see how things work, it's very easy to become jaded and to see why people are disillusioned and upset. And that's kind of where I am now. Okay, so recently I've started embracing my Disney fandom more openly. I joined some Disney adult communities on social media. Yeah, that's not ever going to go well. To see if there are specific products that adults like me are excited about. Makes sense. Like the popcorn buckets, for example. Which is a good example. People are obsessed with popcorn buckets, and I can't blame them. I have many myself, but however, I was surprised to discover there's a lot of hostility among Disney adults. There is an alarming amount of unnecessary snark and jabs thrown around within online groups. Yes, 100%. It reminds me of daily challenges I faced as a Disney cast member on Casual Wednesday morning when an impatient Karen with their cockatoo feathers sprung up screeching at me to fetch a particular Tinkerbell figurine out of the storage room or else. That's not really the magical mindset that suits Disney magic, right? This has become a very odd theme, I noticed. Why is it? Do you guys have a clue? I'd like to hear about your thoughts on a possible video. It would be a fun topic to discuss. Yeah, I agree. So, yeah. You're not wrong. I see it all the time. I've been doing this for years and years, and I see it constantly. It's actually gotten worse, I think. And now people are throwing around the term Disney adult. Now there's a difference. An adult who likes to go to Disney and who is a rational adult who understands that, there are problems at Disney sometimes, and, it's reasonable to be disappointed if, things don't go your way, or, things like that. A reasonable person that goes to Disney and loves Disney, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the fanatical nut bars who will hear nothing of anything negative about Disney. The ones who used to give us death threats, for example, because how dare you question their religion? And that is basically what it's like. It is like a religion to some of these people. And criticizing Disney is like criticizing their religious doctrine. And I would like to say I'm kidding, but I am completely serious. I see this all the time. I really have no answer as to why some rational people behave the way they do when it comes to Disney, other than to them, it is so important. It is so ingrained. It is almost like a religion. It's an obsession for some people. Like they'll come back from the trip and immediately they're posting about their countdown to their next trip. Now that's fine. A lot of people go to Disney often. It's no different than somebody who likes to go to sporting events or likes to go to conventions that might be, several states away every year, or your family every year goes to a boathouse or a beach trip, or they have a timeshare or something like that. A lot of people go often, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you can afford it and it's not impacting anyone else, nothing wrong with that. And if you're, Disney adults can go to Disney without kids. People need to back the heck off of that one too. People are allowed to go to Disney and not have children. There's actually a damn petition out there saying that Disney should not let people come in unless they have kids with them, which is ridiculously stupid. Besides the fact that I think Disney's counting on these people to save their asses. I remember a few years back, their biggest their push they were doing was on grandparents to bring kids, but also on childless adults. like whatever they call it, 2-income family, childless adults. They had all kinds of disposable income and Disney wanted their money. A lot of times people who don't have kids with them have more money to spend on things that Disney gets to keep. If you have kids too, you spend a lot of money. But why would you exclude one whole market that's a huge market for you? You wouldn't. So Disney adulting is not a bad thing until it becomes, like a religion. And then it becomes bad. Because at that point, like, no one can criticize it. And that's where we get to these message boards. I'm on several different ones. I am an annual pass holder. I don't know how long I'm going to be an annual pass holder. My renewal's coming up and I'm debating if we're going to bother renewing. I haven't been down since last year because, frankly, it's just such a pain in the butt to get down there and back. It's more the travel than it actually is the parks for me. I don't want to have to drive, and flying out of Orlando Airport is usually a pain in the ass. So, I haven't gone down. But usually you see it with like DVC members or annual pass holders. They have different groups, different fan groups, or, these are where all the people hang out. I'm on also several different fan sites that are Disney fans. I see it time and time again. The snark that is bringing up, that she's mentioning, completely true. If somebody has a problem with something at Disney, even if you have to start out, just like Disney used to make you do, list all the positives before you can say a negative. And even then, if you say anything negative, there's always people to be complete assholes to you for saying anything negative. Because heaven forbid you want, changes made that might improve the parks. As these people are so indoctrinated by Disney that any change to them, it just terrifies them, and you're the bad person. But I've seen instances where somebody said, okay, I went down a trip. This was all great. However, these things happened and it kind of made my trip, ruined the trip a little bit. But, we still had a good trip overall. But I wish those things hadn't happened. And a lot of times they're things that Disney has done, or other people's behavior or things like that. Immediately, there will be somebody, a bunch of somebodies usually, jumping down their throat, telling them, well, just don't go then. What did you expect? It's not always about you. I've seen people get injured or tell stories about how their children got injured. And sometimes it's something that they've done. And sometimes the stuff they have done caused an injury. But oftentimes it's not. It's because of other people's bad behavior, or, something that happened at Disney that maybe something was in disrepair a little bit, that it should have been better, maintained, and it wasn't. Somebody got hurt. Immediately, you have two groups of people that jump into this conversation. There's the one group that said, did you go do so-and-so to get your money back? Or they all want money, free rooms, upgrades, fast passes. Did you go and get your free shit because you got hurt? Then the other group that jumps in, and usually is the first one to jump in, are the ones that are like, how dare you blame Disney? It's your fault. Somehow it's your fault. No matter what happens, it's always your fault. Somebody shoved you down a flight of stairs, that is your fault. Grandma gets off of Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind and has to walk down the steps. Yes, after spinning you around a whole bunch in that ride, which I love that ride, they probably were supposed to have escalators, and instead they put steps, which was a fucking bad move on Disney's part. I don't know what they were smoking. People have fallen. A lot. I know there was one instance of a lady that fell and was bleeding, and the cast members, were trying to get like somebody in there to help her, but other guests were coming in and giving her like towels and things trying to stop the bleeding. Obviously not their fault. The steps was a bad decision. And if you bring that up, it's still your fault. You shouldn't have taken the steps. But what else are you supposed to do? I'm sure there's elevators for handicap accessibility, but most people aren't allowed to use those. Things like that. I've seen kids have gotten hurt. They had staples and they had to have staples put in their head or whatever because they fell and got injured. And yes, kids are accident prone, but sometimes it's not their fault. It's one place they said the step broke. And immediately, it couldn't be Disney's fault. I'm like, Disney hasn't been upkeeping it like they should. I'm sorry. It's completely possible that it's Disney's fault. No, it's your fault. You must have stepped on it wrong, or I don't believe this. This is a lie. I hear that one a lot too. Oh, you're just making this up. I don't buy it. You're making it up. The pixie dusting, farting rainbows of Mickey gladness and how you have to sniff it. It's like the stupid scents they pump out into the park that smell like cookies. You have to sniff those farts and as much as you can till you're flying on air, because if you don't, these people are so pissed at you because you dared criticize what they are obsessed about. They're on their countdowns all the time, which is fine. But I'm not talking about people that are doing normal things, but like people that are like every day, oh my God, guys, I got 10 days away and I just can't. I just start crying today because I can't. And oh my God, 10 days, 9 days. Oh, my heart. I can't take it any longer. The vapors, people like that. It's ridiculous how they get. And then if you criticize it in any way, shape or form, or be like, it wasn't that great. Then how dare you? People doing reviews on food and they're like, this food sucks. It's true. There's a lot of food at Disney that just fucking sucks. I'm sorry. There's a lot of good food too. A lot of really good things, especially like at Epcot and stuff. There's a lot of really good stuff. But they put out these hot dogs that are nasty, or they put out these drinks that are like, it's just like pure sugar and it burns to drink them. They put out all this stuff and it's just gross. And then they charge you like $10 for it. And it's disgusting. And then if you say, nah, it wasn't good. How very dare you? Oh, don't even get me started on the Dole Whip. Who likes Dole Whips and who doesn't? Because if you don't like Dole Whips, oh my God. It's just, these people are just, that's what they do. They spend their entire day. It's kind of like Twitter, but with Disney. They spend their entire day on these boards. And if somebody, I've seen so many people pull their threads, pull down pictures, through the comment and got turned off on a post. Oh, The Little Mermaid? Holy shit. The Little Mermaid, if you dare say anything about that film, holy shit. Because like people were saying originally they didn't understand why they were making a live action Little Mermaid and why they were doing race bending. Well, you're just a racist. If you question it at all. And the thing is, people that questioned it, some of them weren't even white. They're like, why are you race bending Ariel? That's stupid. You're just a racist. When people started bringing up the other characters looking weird, how dare you? How dare you? What did you think they would look like in live action? They're fine. You're just a racist. If you said the colors were too dark on the palette or you didn't like a new song, that's just because you're a racist. It was ridiculous. Like you were not allowed to have an opinion. But what I'd love to see is on these boards, people stood up against that and they started being like, oh, hell no. You know what? You're not going to, and they just kept talking over them. I had to get into it with a few people that were just like, automatically you're racist because you didn't like it. And it was like, I had said something that had nothing to do with the color of Ariel. Nothing. You're just a racist. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. We're not doing that. It was a dude. So I was like, well, then I guess you're a misogynist. I mean, if I could just make shit up, you're apparently misogynist because, you're a dude trying to tell me that, what I should like as a woman. Of course, that's stupid too. But my point is, this is how fucking dumb this is. These people are just nuts. Now, I want to make it very clear. The majority of Disney fans are not like this. There's a lot of DVC members, rational people. A lot of annual pass holders, completely rational people. There are a lot of fans that go every year, go 3 times a year, because it's like I said, no different than if you go down to a beach house or if you go to you follow your sporting team, to 3 different games across the country or whatever, same thing. And they're rational people. But you have a lot, and it seems to be growing, of people that are just so obsessed. It's fucking ridiculous. And what kicked off a lot of the religion talk, we did a video on before, was they were talking about the one, Am I the Asshole on Reddit? And they had said that basically they did a wedding and they didn't pay for catering because they wanted to spend the money on their own private Mickey and Minnie meet and greet, but they didn't tell anybody they weren't feeding them. And people were paying to come into their wedding, to go to Disney, to go to their wedding, and they didn't even give them food. So they could have some private Mickey and Minnie photo session for some ridiculous amount of money. And it was like, yeah, you kind of the asshole. But that's what kind of started kicking off recently, this discussion. But there are signs that says like religious pilgrims who make sacred journeys to the holy site. Disney parks are holy sites for some people. And I get it. Like if you've been to a Disney park, especially if you have kids, you can get emotional. And they're like, the person crying because they hugged Goofy. That's stupid. They're allowed to cry if they see Goofy. I mean, maybe they went through a lot of stuff. Maybe they lost a lot of people. And seeing that one bit of something that they always associate with joy made them cry. Understandable. Some people cried going to the grocery store, okay? Because they've been locked up for so long. They cried because they got to see a friend they hadn't seen for, a couple of years. In their mind, Goofy might be like a friend they haven't seen in a while. A lot of people have bad lives or things that happen in their lives that, their life hasn't gone the way they wanted. But they can go to Disney and then they're transported back to like when they were a kid, when things were less complicated. And for like that day, it brings you joy. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. There's nothing wrong with Disney adults going to Disney and wanting a pretzel while Timmy has to wait in line like everybody else. There's nothing wrong with that. Where it becomes an issue is where you are so obsessed with Disney to the point that nobody can talk about what happened in their lives that might not be a positive experience, that you are blind to any, fair criticism of the parks or the company as a whole, even if it's like something that can be documented, to a place where you're blaming people for getting hurt, even if it wasn't their fault, and then shutting them and then being shits to them until the whole post gets locked down. There's a difference. Calling anybody who doesn't like the movie you like a racist. There are normal people, and then there are these people, and these people are thankfully not the majority, but they're the vocal minority. And they park it on these threads, these fan groups, and they just constantly spend all day like screaming at everyone who doesn't agree. And it's insane. Collectors, yeah, there's the popcorn bucket crowd, and there's people that'll wait 4 or 5 hours for a popcorn bucket. Now, the reason people are waiting 4 or 5 hours for a popcorn bucket isn't because all those people online are like super Disney fans that want a popcorn bucket. Probably about like a quarter of them are people who just in the park and they wanted a popcorn bucket because they were there as a souvenir. Probably a quarter of them to half of them collect popcorn buckets. And then you have the other group, quarter to half, depending on the day, who are, well, actually it might even be more than that, who are the ones buying it to put on the fucking internet on eBay and sell it third party, because people will pay. I can't get to Disney this week, but I'll pay $300 for that Figment popcorn bucket because I really want it because I love Figment. And Disney knows it. And Disney's not going to do anything to change it because they want to make sure they keep things limited so they make more money and there's more demand. And people will make trips to come get things because they're afraid they'll miss out. They count on FOMO. And Disney kind of perpetuates some of this behavior in the way that they present themselves, in the way even this commercials. When people come down and have meltdowns because they didn't get to walk down the street without a crowd because the commercial said so. I mean, there's just so much to this. There's no good, easy answer about why people act that way. I think since pandemic, people will just become really weird. I know, like in college, my son was in college, he tries to talk to people and they just look at him like he's a third eye, like, why are you talking to me? As they're on their phone, talking to people on their phone. Like you go past all these dorm rooms and on every door there was like their Snapchat or Instagram ID, but they won't talk to each other. But you can follow them on Snapchat for, make sure you give me an upvote. And there's this weird dynamic that's happened in the last few years because of like the internet, but mostly I think because of the pandemic. It's gotten far, far, far worse, I think, since, because people, like, when they were trapped, I can't wait to go to Disney again. Literally, they were having, like, as soon as I get out, the first thing I'm doing is going to Disney. They'll have tax returns, and they'll be like, you mean my Disney money? Stuff like that. People just got really, really, really weird and really obsessive and really protective of Disney to a place where some people, it's gotten to be religion, and it's gotten ridiculous. Anyway, again, not the majority. I would say the majority of people don't behave that way, but people on message boards, there's also the element when some people are on Twitter or on Facebook, they're just fucking assholes because they're like, you know what? You can't see me. I'm not talking to your face. I'd never say this to your face, but since I'm anonymous, I'm just gonna, blame everything on you ever and I'm just gonna be a complete fucking hater and just harass you and threaten you and be so mean to you and take out all my aggression on you because you don't know who I am and you can't find me. There's that element of it too. I think that's the same with any place. We see it on Twitter all the time. I don't know. What do you think? What have you seen? What have you been told by people when you say, well, maybe my trip wasn't the best trip ever? And what happened to in these groups where people, like, did they descend upon you? Did they agree? Please tell us in the comments. I'll talk to you later. Bye.